Welcome to I Told My Story. I'm Penelope. I was running in the corridor to catch the class. At that moment, I noticed Amelia. Her shoes were covered in mud. Suddenly, Harper's voice echoed. Amelia, do you not see that you've left everything covered in mud? Amelia paused, bowed her head, and replied, I apologize, I didn't realize. Harper glared at Amelia in anger. My special designer shoes from Paris are ruined. Can't you see? Next time, pay attention to whether your shoes are clean when you come to school. Amelia immediately lowered her head. I apologize. I really didn't see it. Harper shot one last threatening look before walking away. Amelia had only been at our school for a month. She had come on a scholarship. Our school was a place where the children of the city's wealthiest families attended, and this had made it difficult for Amelia from the very beginning. Since she joined the class later, no one was taking her in. During the next break, she was sitting alone in the cafeteria again. I approached her and said, Hi, can I sit here? Amelia looked at me in surprise. Me? I smiled and took a seat. Yes, I mean next to you. We haven't talked since you arrived. Yes, she said, nodding her head slightly. At that moment, Harper, whom I recognized from the morning's events, along with her close friend Pelin, approached our table. Harper remarked, Removing the morning mud from my specially designed shoes was quite difficult, glaring at Amelia with irritation. Amelia felt embarrassed and lowered her head. I stood up immediately without giving her a chance to respond. Harper, this is something that can happen to anyone. There's no need to exaggerate so much, I said. Harper rolled her eyes and exchanged glances with Pelin. Oh, look at you. Amelia's lawyer is here, she said. They walked away laughing. I turned back to Amelia. Don't mind them. They're always like this, I said. This time, a genuine smile appeared on her face. All right, she replied. This is how my friendship with Amelia started. Initially, she appeared shy, but she was truly a beautiful and joyful girl. I quickly understood the reason for her shyness since she came to this school. Her parents had divorced, and she was living with her mother and grandfather. We started going out together on weekends. Sometimes we walked in the park, and other times we sat on the beach eating ice cream. Most of all, we enjoyed chatting for hours in small cafes, our cheeks aching with laughter at every meeting. Amelia's previous quiet demeanor had vanished, and in its place stood a completely different person whose eyes shone brightly. One day, while sitting in the schoolyard and observing my surroundings, Kirk passed by us. I turned to Amelia and smiled. Isn't he so handsome? Just as I was enjoying this moment, Harper suddenly appeared beside us, looking at me with her classic snobbish expression. Don't get too excited, Penelope. Kirk is going to be mine, she declared. I was ready to reply when Amelia abruptly stood up, her gaze firmly fixed on Harper. Kirk would look great with a beautiful girl like Penelope, so you shouldn't get your hopes up, she said. Harper was momentarily taken aback, speechless. Without looking back, she quickly pulled Emma by the arm and walked away. Amelia turned to me, and then we both burst into laughter. At that moment, I realized even more the strength she possessed. That weekend, Ezra came over to stay with us, and we were outside our house. She gazed in admiration at the large garden and the huge mansion. Is all of this house yours? She asked, her eyes wandering. I smiled and nodded. Yes, let's go to my room, I said, and we rushed inside. When we entered the room, her eyes widened even more. Your room is so big, she said in astonishment. I shrugged with a smile. Yes, this is my world, Amelia said, smiling as she looked around. If you combined our house, it wouldn't even equal this place, she exclaimed, laughing heartily. At that moment, our maid knocked and walked in. Is there anything you need, Miss Penelope? She inquired. I gave Amelia a wink. How about a strawberry milkshake? That sounds fantastic, she said with joy. Amelia and I had a wonderful weekend. We swam and laughed for hours. In the evening, we watched a movie in our cinema room. We laughed uncontrollably at each comedic scene. As I was organizing my room, I mentioned that I wanted to give her some of my dresses and shoes. She hesitantly refused at first, but after some insistence, she accepted. On Monday, I was waiting for Amelia in the canteen with my coffee. At that moment, Kirk showed up next to me. Hello, may I sit here? He inquired. I stared at him in shock. Of course, I finally replied. He reached out his hand. I'm Kirk, he introduced himself, my hand shaking slightly from excitement. I'm Penelope, I said. I've wanted to meet you for ages, but I never found the courage, he confessed. At that moment, words got tangled in my mouth. I was frozen, not knowing what to say. Then, Amelia came to us wearing the expensive pink coat I had given her for the weekend. In that coat, she looked so fashionable that my eyes lit up with excitement. The moment I laid eyes on her, I blurted out, "Please take a seat." Amelia sat down next to us with a surprised expression. I quickly said, "Let me introduce you. This is Kirk," I said. "And this is Amelia, my closest friend." Kirk nodded with a smile, saying, "Nice to meet you, Amelia." Just then, the class bell rang, and Kirk quickly stood up. "I'll catch you later," he said, as he moved away from us. Amelia looked at me with wide eyes. "Come on, tell me what just happened. I was in shock when I saw you both together." I still couldn't gather myself. "I don't know." Suddenly, she came up to me and said, "Hello." But I was so embarrassed that I couldn't speak. What should I do now? I made a fool of myself in front of him. Amelia burst into laughter. "Don't worry, I'll make sure you two meet." "Are you really going to do that?" I asked. With a hopeful smile in her eyes, she said, "You're like my sister now." "Don't worry, I'll take care of it." From that day on, Amelia began to spend a lot of time with Kirk. Every time we met, she would laugh and say, "Don't worry, this time it will work out." I was anticipating that the hope blossoming within me would reconcile us. On Friday, Amelia visited me and with excitement said, "We are meeting Kirk at the cafe on Saturday. This time, it's for sure." "Is that true?" I told her. "You're wonderful," and embraced her with joy. Saturday arrived and Amelia met Kirk. I sent her countless messages, but none received a reply. While silence was eating away at me, my phone rang on Sunday. Amelia said sadly, "I'm sorry, it didn't work out for you. Kirk has feelings for someone else." I felt so awful yesterday that I couldn't write back to you. I was at a loss for words for a moment, but he mentioned wanting to come over and meet you, I said, surprised. "I have no idea," she replied with a sigh. "But he has feelings for someone else." "Don't worry, I'll help you find someone better," she said, before ending the call. I remained there with my phone in hand. Tears filled my eyes, words caught in my throat, and I couldn't utter a single word. On Monday, when I went to school, I was sitting quietly on the bench in the garden. Suddenly, Harper came over with a mocking smile. "What happened, Penelope?" "Kirk was neither yours nor mine. We both lost him," she remarked. I frowned. "Just a second. What did we lose? What are you talking about?" Harper pulled out her phone and opened Instagram. "Did you miss it? The Amelia you were so protective of is dating Kirk." I couldn't believe what I heard. I snatched the phone from her hand. There was a selfie of Amelia with Kirk on her Instagram story. It said, "My new boyfriend," underneath, and there was a big heart next to it. My heart sank. She had blocked me while sharing the story, and this was the first time I was seeing it on Harper's phone. I stood up in anger. I started running towards the classroom without even giving Harper's phone back. I ran into Amelia in the hallway. She saw me and smiled confidently. "Oh, look who it is, the coolest girl in school," she remarked. I inhaled deeply and showed her the phone. "What's this, Amelia?" I questioned. Amelia looked at it and shrugged casually. "We took that picture with Kirk over the weekend. What's the big deal? What's the issue?" "You wrote my new boyfriend in the caption," I yelled. A mischievous smile crept onto Amelia's face. "Yes, Kirk likes me. What can I do about it? He picked me, not you." When I heard that, my world fell apart. Amelia, whom I had been by the side of and supported in every matter since she arrived at school, had betrayed me. At that moment, Kirk approached us. "Hello, girls," he said with a smile. I squinted my eyes at him. "Congratulations. I hear you're dating Amelia," I said. Kirk paused for a moment. With a bewildered look, he stared at me. "What? We're not going out," he replied. I then showed him Harper's phone. "This is impossible," he said. "Yes, we took that picture, but it was purely platonic. I had no idea you would act like this." When we looked back at Kirk and Amelia, she had already disappeared. I had finally learned the truth. The only reason Kirk was seeing Amelia so often was actually me. Kirk wanted to be my boyfriend, but every time Amelia would intervene and tell him, "Penelope already likes someone else. Forget about her. You deserve better." Hearing those words made my heart ache. She was someone I had always supported. How could she betray me like this? But in the end, justice was served. Kirk and I were now a couple. Amelia was absent from school for days. Though her absence reminded me of our friendship, it felt different this time. One day, while walking with Kirk, she suddenly appeared. Her eyes were brimming with tears. She glanced at us, yet without uttering a single word, she turned away and dashed off. How about you? Have there been friends who let you down despite your best efforts to treat them well? If yes, feel free to share in the comments below.